Today, 160 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, racial oppression remains one of the most pervasive social problems in the United States. Figures cited in the report show that 2/3 of Latin American women and 3/4 of Asian women have been subjected to racial epithets within a year, and more than half of the perpetrators are strangers. Even the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, CERD, has concluded that the shadow of colonialism and slavery in American history still lingers today, contributing to the prevalence of racism in American society. Here is a look at how the United States, a self-proclaimed beacon of democracy, treats people of African descent and others. The first is the persistent persecution of people of African descent and Indians. People of African descent are subjected to severe racial discrimination on multiple fronts. In the area of law enforcement, for example, on January 2, 2023, a 31-year-old African-American man named Kenan Anderson in Los Angeles was suspected in a traffic accident, and police used an electroshock gun 6 times in the process of subduing him, causing him to have a heart attack that sent him to the hospital where he died before getting rescued. Statistically, African Americans are 3 times more likely to be killed by police and 4.5 times more likely to be incarcerated than whites in the healthcare field, for example. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 69.9 out of every 100,000 pregnant women of African descent who are pregnant or during labor and delivery die, almost 3 times as many as white women. And the death rate of African American infants is the highest of all ethnics, with nearly 11 deaths per 1,000 live births, about twice the average death rate. And violations against Native Indians are even more still unabated. The Associated Press reported on November 6, 2023, that for more than 150 years, Native American children were taken away from their communities and forced into boarding schools, which mistreated students in order to assimilate them into white society, and that the trauma caused by these schools has rippled through generations, contributing to problems such as alcoholism, drug addiction, and sexual abuse. The Indian Health Service, IHS, of the United States Department of Health and Human Services provides federally funded healthcare coverage to nearly 200,000 Native Americans. But this figure is less than 50% of the national Indian and Alaska Native population. The second is the intensified persecution of Asians and Chinese. According to a survey released by the Pew Research Center on November 30, 2023, nearly 60% of Asian Americans said they faced discrimination on the basis of race or ethnicity. According to a survey released on April 27, 2023 by Columbia University School of Social Work and the Non-Governmental Organization Committee of 100, nearly 3/4 of Chinese Americans have experienced racial discrimination in the past year. And 55% of Chinese Americans fear that hate crimes or harassment will endanger their lives. At the same time, the situation of racial discrimination faced by Chinese Americans is not optimistic. Although the US government's China Action Plan for ethnic Chinese scientists has been suspended, the program's far-reaching effects are still being felt, and many ethnic Chinese scientists still feel a strong sense of insecurity. A survey of nearly 1,400 Chinese Americans holding tenure-track faculty positions at US universities conducted by Princeton University, Harvard University, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology showed that 72% expressed insecurity and 42% were afraid to conduct research in the United States. Finally, there is discrimination against minorities in the workplace. According to the 2023 Job Interview Experience Report, published by a recruiting software company called Greenhouse, discrimination in the hiring process is quite concerning, with 34% of job seekers experiencing discrimination in interviews, and nearly 1/5 of job seekers having tried to avoid discriminatory hiring practices by changing their names on their resumes. The UK Guardian website revealed on April 23, 2023 that the US government has been able to evade its labor protection responsibilities and oppress minority laborers for decades. New York's caregivers of color are not only forced to accept long hours of continuous work, but their pay is also deducted. As a result, many caregivers suffer from insomnia, chronic illnesses, and other diseases, causing serious harm to the caregivers and their families. As the problem of racism in the United States continues to worsen, racism in the United States has taken on a transnational spread and has become a major exporter of extreme racism. As Bruce Hoffman and Jacob Weil of the Council on Foreign Relations Institute stated in their article, U.S. Hatred Spreads Across the Country, published on the website of the journal Foreign Affairs, on September 19, 2023, the United States has become a typical country exporting far-right extremism and terrorism. In the face of such a serious racist discriminatory dynamic, the U.S. has fallen so deep that some U.S. groups and citizens some countries have labeled as foreign terrorists.